This is Population Health Weekly. We bring the science to your street. One small habit, one clear choice. Right where real lives meet. Every voice, every choice, every truth that we share. Public health.
Dr. Anna had spent 15 years studying the human body at its most intimate level cells, tissues, and the silent stories they tell. Under her microscope, a familiar pattern of cellular deterioration, damage she had read about in textbooks, was appearing with alarming frequency. Her curiosity was not academic vanity. The answers could guide personal choices, reshape product design, and inform regulation. But Anna knew she could not solve this puzzle alone. Someone could help her find the answer. But reaching out felt like stepping into the unknown.
Listen and give. This is Population Health Weekly. We bring the science.
On 14th of August 2026, welcome to Population Health Weekly with me, Shahnur Azhar. Last Friday, we opened the series The Digital Scar, tracing 25-year exposure to digital devices across a range of generations. Today, we talk of their impact on our bodies seen on the microscope, but brought to you in the simplest of ways. But it's not possible to go any further without welcoming my co host, Erin Rodgers. Hello.
Hi, Shanor, and greetings to all of our listeners. I'm really looking forward to today's show. And later on, the collection of 3 biomedical updates will be presented as the Triad. And this segment comes with 3 key words, which are vaping, toothpick, and One Health. Shanor, please tell us more about Dr. Anna, the pathologist.
Dr. Anna had seen it all, Erin. She was among the best in her country, maybe the region. Multiple research grants, awards from overseas. Colleagues whispered she had a sixth sense of patterns others missed. But Anna was also a professor of pathology buried in academic committees and administrative duties. Strategic planning often took a backseat to the urgent demands of institutional life. She had a home to look after, a teenage son whose posture worried her. Then came the samples. Anna had been examining temporal bone samples from postmortem specimens, both younger and older. The temporal bone houses the inner ear, including the cochlea, a spiral shaped structure filled with tiny hair cells that convert sound vibrations into electrical signals. These hair cells do not regenerate. Once destroyed, they're gone forever. The evidence is now convincing. Prolonged exposure to high volume sound, particularly through earbuds, causes irreversible damage. Experts recommend the 60-60 rule: no more than 60% volume for no more than 60 minutes at a time. Yet most users are unaware. Over 1.1 billion young people are at risk of preventable hearing loss. By age 18, over 6% of adolescents already show sensory neural hearing loss, and nearly 13% show signs of probable noise induced damage. Anna thought of ear like a delicate garden, beautiful, fragile, and once trampled never to grow back. Seeing this frequent damage in temporal bone samples unsettled her. The garden was being trampled earlier than it should have been. But the ear was not the only organ demanding her attention. Building on evidence from episode 1, the dose response data for myopia is clear. Each additional hour of daily screen time increases myopia risk by 21%, with a safety threshold of less than 1 hour per day. Myopia, nearsightedness, means close objects are clear, but distant ones are blurry. Think of eye like a camera held too close for too long. Sustained near work creates a signal for the eye to adapt structurally, what optometrists call axial elongation, the physical lengthening of the eyeball that underpins myopia. Once this happens, the change becomes permanent. Myopia rates range from 47% to 62% in East Asia, compared to just 6% to 20% elsewhere. By 2050, nearly half the global population will be myopic. Anna had been following the myopia evidence with growing concern. The dose response was clear, but she wanted to understand the mechanism. She was also working on animal models to assess blue light's impact on ocular tissues. Blue light is biologically active, triggering oxidative stress, DNA damage, and cell death in laboratory settings. But linking these mechanisms to real world screen use is complex. For now, the strongest evidence remains in the stretching of the eye itself. Anna knew that translating her animal screen models to human screen use was a puzzle she couldn't solve alone. Eyes are extensions of the brain, the most complex organ in the human body. Inside our brain, billions of neurons communicate through networks. Prolonged screen use may disrupt their efficiency. Functional neuroimaging shows that higher mobile phone use severity is associated with decreased integration and increased segregation of brain networks, regions talking to each other less efficiently. In everyday terms, the brain's communication channels become less coordinated, more fragmented. But cellular or molecular changes remain inconclusive. No definitive biomarker exists for screen induced neurobiological damage. Anna had been studying the evidence carefully. She knew that neuroscientists and molecular biologists were essential to move from association to causation. But that collaboration was still months away. The uncertainty bothered her. But while the evidence of the brain remained cloudy, Anna had a more immediate concern she could see every evening. At home that evening, Anna watched her teenage son scroll through his phone, shoulders rounded, chin tucked, spine curved like a question mark. She reminded him to sit up straight. She had been doing that a lot lately. The same strain she suspected in the data was playing out in her own living room. A significant portion of digital exposure related health concerns are ergonomic. Prevalence of musculoskeletal disorders among heavy smartphone users ranges from 50% to 84%. The neck is the most vulnerable, reported in up to 85% of symptomatic users. The neck supports the head, about 5 kg. When we tilt forward, the force increases dramatically, up to 27 kilograms of extra force for every 15 degrees of tilt. Wrists, thumbs, and shoulders also suffer from sustained grip and repetitive movements. Studies estimate musculoskeletal disorders in over 1.7 billion people worldwide. But evidence for cellular damage due to postural changes remain unproven. Biochemical markers like TIMP1 and TIMP2, collagen biomarkers essential for tissue integrity, are plausible areas to investigate. They've been reported in other injuries such as repetitive strain and trauma, but specific mechanisms here remain unclear. Anna could see the strain in her son's posture. What she saw at home mirrored what she suspected in the data. But connecting that strain to cellular changes, that required more evidence. And she couldn't do this alone. The questions were piling up: geographical spread, methodological gaps, the need for interdisciplinary collaboration. She needed someone who could help her see the pattern, not just in the samples but across populations. And even if she got the collaboration going, there was the equally daunting task of securing funding. Without resources, even the best ideas stalled. Her hand drifted towards her phone. There was a coworker, a brilliant epidemiologist who had moved overseas years ago. She had watched his work from afar. She had never worked with him directly. But he was the one person who might connect her cellular observations to populations and patterns, and perhaps help her navigate the funding maze. He would expect a coherent story, a testable hypothesis. Did she have one yet? The uncertainty kept her from pressing dial. The phone rang. The screen flashed a name she had just been thinking about. Anna stared at the glowing display. Only one part of the answer was in her microscope. The other part, in collaboration and resources. Next week, measuring exposure but not the outcome.
But did she pick up the call?
I don't know, but we can trust her wisdom, no?
Of course we can. Now let's move to the Triad, a fortnightly collection of 3 biomedical updates, and each segment comes with 3 keywords, which today are vaping, toothpick, and One Health. Let's begin with the latest on tobacco smoking and if vaping is its direct substitute. Global smoking prevalence has broadly declined from 22.3% in 2007 to 16.4% in 2023. However, recent data reveals concerning reversals, particularly among youth. In the United Kingdom, current smoking among 11 to 17-year-olds rose from 3% in 2021 to 5.4% in 2025, with having ever smoked reaching a 13-year high of 21%. Vaping has surged in parallel, with current use more than doubling from 3% to 7% among British youth over that same period. While marketed as a harm reduction tool and popular cessation aid used by approximately 30% of adults in quit attempts, evidence on its effectiveness is still inconclusive. Furthermore, the relationship between smoking decline and vaping uptake appears complex. A U.S. study found that the adolescent vaping surge was independent of the decline in cigarette smoking. Thus, vaping is emerging as a parallel nicotine trend rather than a straightforward substitute, raising even more questions and concerns. And following that story, reaching out for a toothpick after a meal? You're not alone. Globally, toothpicks dominate daily habits. One study reports 33% usage among adults versus a paltry 2% for dental floss. But in the US, the picture flips. 33% floss daily, while toothpicks trail at 31% in some worker surveys. The gap reveals culture, cost, and convenience. Yet science is clear. Floss wins on plaque removal in tight contacts, but may require a bit of training before regular use. Toothpicks offer brute force debris clearance between teeth with a deadly caveat, a 79% perforation rate if swallowed. With floss use languishing below 14% in many groups, the takeaway is stark. We're picking convenience over efficacy, and your gums are keeping score. And finally, progress on targets under One Health. For those unfamiliar with the term, the One Health framework recognizes the interconnectedness of human, animal, and environmental health. Its joint plan of action for 2022 to 2026 outlines the World Health Organization's strategic goals, enhancing implementation at the country level, strengthening the scientific evidence base, improving policy engagement and governance, and mobilizing sustainable financing. Progress is evident but uneven. For instance, the number of countries with national One Health committees did increase from 30 in 2017 to 86 by 2024, but this fell slightly short of the 88 target. The 2026 World Health Day, themed Together for Health, Stand with Science, focused on this approach, and the 4th Quadripartite Executive Annual Meeting convened to accelerate action. From Indonesia's strengthened zoonotic surveillance to Tonga's multi-sectoral dengue response, tangible actions are emerging worldwide. However, fragmented funding and leadership remain significant hurdles to achieving this plan's full potential.
Thank you, Erin, and thanks to all of our listeners. See you next week. Technical support for this show is provided by Wahab Shahid. Podcast logo, theme music, creative and production advice is given by Imran Babar. Erin Rodgers is our editorial associate. Population Health Weekly is led by its listeners, and they are invited to participate in any competent way they can. If interested, email us at info@ideas.org.s, info@ideas.org.es.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Population Health Weekly, where you can also post your thoughts, comments, and imaginations. You can also subscribe to our monthly newsletter on our website, ideas.org.es. It's free. You can also donate to us through ideas.org.es and the hosting platform rss.com. All contributions will be dedicated to improving the quality of this show. The transcript of the show will be available as soon as it's posted via rss.com. If Population Health Weekly sounded interesting to you, then spread the word.
Special thanks to Junta de Andalucía and Gobierno de España for their support to Autónomos that made this production possible.
Empowering you to stay healthy. Everywhere, everywhere.